Daddy, we're doing.
I'm doing a podcast, Dizzy. Hello and welcome to the Too Cool for School podcast. I'm your host, Yannick. And on today's episode, I've got a special guest with me and we're talking about the life of an apprentice and the fact that uni isn't always the option to go to. So I'm going to allow the guest to introduce himself.
Yes, my name is Mize. I'm an apprentice working at Samsung, my second year, and I'm currently studying for CIMA to be an accountant. So yeah, that's me.
Okay. What's CIMA, just for context for those who
CIMA
don't know?
is a chartered accounting board. So once you become in order to be a qualified accountant, you need to have either gone through ACCA or CIMA or ACA to really be a qualified accountant. And yeah, so that's kind of the route.
Okay, yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And just for sort of added, context, I've known Myers for a while now. I was his, head of year, way back when. So it's amazing to have him on the show to speak about his experience. So Myers, to kick off with, like, why didn't you go to uni? I know that's the sort of route that a lot of your friends would have gone down. That's the sort of route that, whether it's within education or parents, people are trying to push, their kids to go to university. But what was it, for you that made you decide, actually, I want to go against that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So my main goal was to go to university since young. I've been pushed since young from my dad and my mum to study computer science. That was the main thing. But once I came to sixth form, and I realised what I wanted to do, which was finance. And I found out I could get paid and study and get experience. I said, I'm not going to go to university. I'm going to go straight for this apprenticeship and try get one. Because by the end of 3-4 years, I just knew that I would be in a better position and coming out of university. So that was the main driving factor. That when I saw the benefits of, I get to network with people that are in the position I want to be. I get to make money whilst I'm doing it. I get experience and they pay for my qualification debt free. I was like, yeah, I've got to go for this apprenticeship thing.
And was that an easy conversation to have with your parents to say, you know what, mum, dad, I'm not going to university? Was that an easy conversation?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't an easy conversation because in my house, everyone knew that I was like bright when it came to school, so the whole family kind of knew. They wanted me to actually like apply for Oxford and Cambridge. They thought I was top in terms of that, but I slowly realised that's not the case. It wasn't easy, especially for my dad, because he wanted me to do my masters, go to university and head that route. But when I got my offer and I explained to them the advantages and the benefits and how serious this is, they just said, just chase what you want to do.
Yeah.
But plan B is university if you don't like it, which I was happy with.
Yeah.
But as long as I knew that I was doing something I wanted to do, I knew I would go 100%.
Yeah. That's interesting that, uni for you was a plan B, whereas, for a lot of people, uni's the plan A and,
definitely.
Jobs, etc. is the plan B. You spoke about your father and, really wanted to push you into, going into university, getting a degree, masters, etc. How did you overcome that? I don't want to disappoint my parents and let me just do it. Because for some people, that feeling of disappointment from their parents is overwhelming to the point where they're like, you know what, forget, man, I'm just going to go uni because I don't want to let them down.
Definitely. That was very hard, being very honest. But when I told him that with the CIMA qualification, that it's equivalent to a master's, it kind of kept him quiet in terms of, it gave him reassurance in terms of, okay, he's doing something that he wants to do. He's getting a free qualification and it's chartered as well, because when you come out of university doing accounting and finance, you're not chartered. You still have to pay for another 2-3 years and sit the CIMA qualifications at the end of it.
Okay.
You just get exempt from a few exams. But when I told him I'm going to start CIMA straight out of sixth form, my company are going to pay for it fully, and it's equivalent to a master's, he was like, you know what, this makes so much sense. I've never heard about it, but since a big company's taken you on they see something in you, so you got to do it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, and it's been good since.
No, that's powerful, man. And especially within our communities, things like apprenticeships is not really heard of.
No, it's not at all.
So when you're trying to explain to your parents, especially after sixth form, after college, that you want to do something that's not university, because it's unheard of or because it's not common for them, they sort of found it difficult. They find it difficult to sort of get on board. Did you find yourself having to now teach your parents about apprenticeships and like what they are and the benefits of it and all those types of things?
Yeah, I teach not only my parents, I teach a lot of people, from people at work, from extended family to people that ask me what I do. I teach a lot of people about it because not many people have heard about it. I just about heard about it year 13. So I was even at the beginning of my year 13 journey, I heard about it scrolling on TikTok by accident, literally. And when I heard about it, I did more research and then I took it full on. But prior to that, secondary school, year 12, I didn't know what an apprenticeship was at all.
Yeah.
And it's not told enough that much, and I think it should be, because I feel like a lot of students will benefit from working, getting the industry experience while studying.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, when I'm looking back and thinking about, secondary school, and I'm not sure whether you were there at the time or not, I do recall maybe like in the later years doing like a session around apprenticeships, but it was like a one-off session.
Yeah.
And the information was like generic. Oh, this is what apprenticeships, look like. These are the salaries, these are the skills that's needed. But it wasn't necessarily a direct route. And I think even looking back, when I was head of year, we wasn't getting that type of information from like organisation in terms of, oh, we want your students to sign up. This is our apprenticeship offer. It was more around, university.
Yeah.
So there's definitely been, a shift there. I'll also be interested to know, like, how did your friends find it? Because, you're in sixth form or college, and I know how those conversations go.
Yeah.
Yep, I've got an open day in Leicester. I've got open day Brunel, Hertfordshire. Yeah. Everyone's dreaming about leaving the home and, on campus and, doing whatever else. How was it for you to say, do you know what, man, I'm chilling. Like, I'm not even going uni. You guys are going to have that whole uni experience, like, without me. Like, how did that conversation look?
It was pretty hard because obviously I dreamed as well of that university lifestyle experience from year 12, getting a sense of freedom. But I kind of told them and sat them down because they didn't know much about it themselves. And then when they understood the route I was taking, they were even starting to look at it themselves.
Yeah.
But it's not until I really got an offer and I showed them the offer and the benefits, even from the salary and everything, is when they were like, maybe I should have done that myself.
Yeah.
Or now they've gone to first year and they've realised, I understand why you took that route. But it was very hard because everyone went to university and I kind of had that FOMO of missing out.
Yeah.
Like everyone's getting that freedom, everyone's moving out of London.
You're paying the Snapchats and you're
all
like,
the time.
Yeah.
Like it'll be a Sunday, the guys are at a party and I've got to be bed by like 9 because I've got a meeting, 9 a.m. But I understand that what I'm doing now will benefit me and what I want, So it was hard at first, but now I've gotten used to it.
That's powerful, man. And I'm just thinking, like, logistically, in terms of even applying for apprenticeships, like, if anyone's listening to this and they're like, you know what, like, Maya's talking a whole load of sense. He's dropping real knowledge right now. Like, apprenticeships interested me.
Yeah.
Like, how was that process, like, for you, like, practically? Like where did you look? How did you apply? How does it look like? Because we know uni, you do the personal statements.
Yeah.
It's the UCAS points and, whatever else. We know how that system works.
Yeah.
But we don't really know how the apprenticeship system works. So what was that process for you?
That process was a very new process to me. So it was very, very hard. And I did it by myself. I didn't have any support from other people. So it obviously started off with understanding what I want to be. So I knew I wanted to study finance. So I started looking at different companies that were in the financial services, from JP Morgan, Citibank, Barclays. I instantly looked at the Canary Wharf. That was kind of the dream, right? And then I looked into the career page, and I've seen a lot of grad jobs and stuff, but I saw a few apprenticeship schemes. And then what they mainly wanted was a CV, the interview, the assessment center, just like applying for a normal grad job or a job after studies. But the fact that I was doing this at 17, whilst in the midst of my exams, was very hard. Building a CV was very hard by myself. But I got support from family members that were in the finance industry, etc. So they helped me build that up. But I can only imagine for someone that doesn't have that much help, it would definitely be hard.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And what were some of the biggest challenges you faced as you was going through that apprenticeship journey? Because you're still an apprentice at the moment.
Yeah.
So what's some of the biggest challenges like you faced?
My
so
current journey right now.
Yeah.
I would say I'm used to obviously being with people my age. It's just how the schooling system works, right? So now I'm 18 going into a world where I'm working with people at 25, 30, 40, 50. Your manager's 46. So I feel like that barrier of, I don't know what to say. It was just hard to communicate. There was a communication barrier.
Yeah.
With a lot of people, being able to understand them, because you can't make the same jokes per se. You don't have the same banter
Those
or
little
such.
nuances.
That was probably my biggest challenge at the beginning.
Yeah.
Obviously, that challenge of, do I deserve to be here? That was a big challenge, I'd say, for the first 6-7 months when I was not.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter syndrome. Like when I was not doing my job correctly, I didn't understand it. They were teaching me, and they would say like, "Why don't you understand this?" Other people would have understood it by now, but they didn't understand that I don't have any experience in this, and I'm still learning this at a young age, right? So imposter syndrome definitely hit me at the beginning, but over time I started to build my confidence, take a lot of time out to understand what I do, and now that's kind of obviously gone away now, but that was definitely the biggest challenge.
Yeah. And I think, when you're talking about those experiences with your work colleagues and, trying to fit in and whatever else, people talk about, diversity in terms of like ethnic backgrounds and gender and all of those sort of things. But also sometimes we need to consider diversity of age.
Definitely.
Like you go into a workplace, if you're a young blood like yourself and you're going in and everyone's in their 40s and 50s, etc. Actually, where do we connect? Beyond work, where do we connect? Like, where's our interest? Like, what can we do to, build that relationship and build that rapport? So
Definitely.
I can totally understand how that was difficult, and sort of leaning on that, that notion of actually you being a young blood and you being an apprentice. Do you feel like you were respected? Do you feel like apprentices are respected?
It's a good question. Do I feel like I'm respected? Yes, I do feel like I'm respected. I'm the first apprentice that's ever joined my team, so to everyone, they were still kind of understanding why is someone so young obviously joining the team. Obviously, at the beginning, it was more so... Yeah, I'd say it was a lot of respect, really. There's been a few times where I felt like maybe like they wouldn't do this to me if I wasn't an apprentice. But more time, my managers definitely do respect me. The people around me respect me and treat me as if I'm a colleague of their age or such, because it's the work environment. So I'm respected much so.
And, when people think about like uni, they still see uni as like a further extension of education. How does apprenticeship differ from the traditional education that you would have received during school and during sixth form? Like, how does apprenticeship differ? And do you still see that as an extension of education?
So university works out to where you study full time, and you might have a part-time job on the side working at Starbucks, McDonald's, whatever. But with an apprenticeship, you're working 4 days a week, and then you study 1 day within that week. So my study day is Thursdays. So from Monday,
still study
still study full time.
Okay.
And so Monday to Wednesday working, Friday I'm working. But on my Thursdays, I'm studying towards my qualification. And monthly or maybe once every 2 months, you set an exam, obviously, to get the credits to pass it by the end of the apprenticeship. But also over time, within work, you might switch teams to build your experience, to meet new people, to really understand what you want to do after you finish this apprenticeship. Because within different rotations, you might find different interests and passion instead of staying in one team for 4 years and then realizing this is what you want to do. So that's how it kind of differs in that sense.
No, that's positive. And do you feel that is there anything that you've picked up from when you was in school and during sixth form in terms of like skills or disciplines that you feel like, you know what, like these things that I learned from school in sixth form have helped me in this role?
Yeah, definitely my time management. From school, when I was studying my exams, I had good time management. From coming back from school, managing my time on how I'm going to study for my exams and how I'm going to perform good under pressure. So my time management, working well under pressure too, because at work, especially in finance, there's a lot of times where you have to present last minute, or you have to answer questions off the top of your head, which you might not know, but you still have to find an answer to it. So those are two things I'll definitely say I learned at school that's definitely helped me. But also at school, I took a lot of leadership roles. So I was speaking a lot. So me being able to public speak to new people, that definitely helped me, because when it came to work, I'm able to present whenever. I'm able to speak to new people and have a good natural conversation.
Yeah, that's positive. That's positive. Thank you. So, Miles, in terms of, you know, mentors and people that you had during like the process, was there anyone, whether it was during the application process or currently in your role now, that has been like a mentor or a guide for you during this process? And what has that relationship looked like?
I've had a lot of mentors. I've had two specific mentors that I met. One of them I met on LinkedIn. I saw that he was doing the same qualification as myself. So I asked him if he could jump on a call and kind of brief me down. And the reason why I asked him to be my mentor specifically is because he looked like me. So I knew that this was possible. I saw his LinkedIn profile. I saw he had a lot of experience. I saw he was very much high up. And when I jumped on a call with him and we spoke, he's from London as well. And it was just like a natural click. And then he also saw it in me that I wanted to work hard and I want to be in a similar position to him. So he helped me throughout the whole application process in terms of how I should present myself, how to answer specific questions. He was a big help, I'll definitely say. And then I had another one that used to work at Waits. So at my old sixth form, we partnered up with Waits, the construction company.
Okay.
And so what they did, because they knew I wanted to work in finance, they got a finance manager that worked at Waits, and me and him worked very closely. And weekly we would jump on calls. He would teach me how to answer interview questions on the spot, how to apply for specific roles, what's actually good for myself, what qualification, what do I actually want to do. And so with that, I was able to present myself to the best of my abilities when it came to these actual final interviews against these companies that I really wanted to be with.
That's powerful. And, you know, you mentioned that one of the things that stood out for you was that, you know, the mentor looked like you. And again, it goes back to this idea that, you know, I talk about time and time again, especially within various fields of education, about the importance of representation. Within your workplace and as an apprentice, you know, working in finance, what does representation look like in your industry? Is that something that you feel is, you know, is working well, or is that something that you feel needs to be developed? And what impact do you think you know, coming in as the first apprentice and paving the way for maybe, you know, other young people to look at what you're doing, you know? So that's a sort of twofold question. So thinking about actually, is the workplace that you're working at, is, you know, is it representative? And two, what impact do you think you can have for those who are coming after you?
I'll definitely say it's developing. It needs to be developed more, but it's definitely developing, and I can see the progression from when I first started to how it is now, and also from what I've heard before. It's definitely developing, but I feel like it's just that more young people just need to start looking into it and start applying. I feel like because we don't know much about these opportunities, that's why there's a lack of that representation of us. But it's definitely developing. In terms of ethnic people, yes, it's definitely developed. So it's improving.
Yeah. And what impact do you think that you can leave for those who are coming and following in your footsteps, or are considering being an apprentice or working in finance?
The impact I want to have, I just want people to understand that it's okay to not follow the norm. You know, obviously everyone wants to go to university, but I think people just need to understand what do they want to do and to chase it. And to look into their future career. So that's the kind of the impact I want to have on others to do what they actually really want to do and to look into their career wise.
That's important. Yeah, that's important, and that's amazing. You know, thinking a bit more about the skills that you've gained as an apprentice. What are some of the things that you feel you've gained being an apprentice that you wouldn't have maybe got in like a traditional university setting?
One would be public speaking. I've been fortunate enough to present in front of the whole of my workplace at a Christmas event. So getting rid of that fear of speaking in front of a huge audience. I feel like at university, maybe you would, but I feel like it would be a class of 30. But I was able to do it in front of around like 400, 500 people. Also networking. I've been able to network with people that are finance directors, managers, directors, from presidents. I've been able to see that these goals are very much achievable because I'm in a vicinity with people that are in a position that I want to be. Whereas in a university, you're with students that have dreams to be very far, but I'm with people that are in the position. So I'm able to ask them, how did they get there? What did you do? What's the best thing I could do to get to where you are? So those are two things that I've been fortunate enough to get at an apprenticeship.
Yeah, that's important. And you know what? I'm sort of thinking about when I first recalled apprenticeships sort of becoming a thing. I recall like the ideas that people had around it was you do it if you weren't smart enough.
Yeah.
Like, you're just doing an apprentice because you're not going to get the grades for uni, you're not going to get the grades for whatever else. But, you know, having, you know, been like your head of year, I already know that academically you were, you know, very bright. So what does it say about, you know, apprenticeships now, the fact that it can draw and attract students like you who are both academically capable to go to university and the Oxford and the Cambridges and whatever else, but similarly capable of, you know, just doing an apprentice and learning, you know, on the job.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that that was kind of the stereotype at the beginning, because now being an apprentice, it's the complete opposite, because I feel like apprenticeships attract high caliber students because these firms, they're paying for your studies. If they're paying for your studies, they see something in you, they know that you're smart. And some of these firms don't play in terms of what grades, or you have to do well at university. If you're not doing well at university, you might lose your job. And some of these firms put you in top universities, paying for your studies, and also you're working a high demanding job at the same time. So I feel like it's the complete opposite. I feel like apprentices are very smart because they're able to not only manage their time, but are able to do well within their studies, achieve good grades, and are also able to do well at work. And that's not something that's easy at all. I feel like it's something that most people do when they're doing their masters. They might be working full time and studying their masters part time on the sides on the weekend. But the fact that the young people are doing it from 18 to 20. It's hard, but we're definitely high caliber students.
Yeah. And how competitive is it? Because, you know, when you think about uni and people talking about Oxford
Yeah.
and these Cambridges or any uni, you know, depending on what subjects they want to study, there's this idea of scarcity and, you know, people are not getting in and people are having to go through clearing and all of these
Yeah.
things. How competitive is...
Too competitive.
seriously?
Right now it's like, it's too... I'd say like 2-3 years ago, maybe it wasn't, because it wasn't heard about that much. But I feel like now, with the push that social media is having for it, apprenticeships are getting too competitive to the point where if you get one, you're lucky, in my opinion. Obviously, you deserve to have gotten it, but it's like...
And how many years are they?
Different apprenticeships vary. They can be from 2 to 3 to 4 years. So my one's 4 years.
4 years.
Because I'm studying CIMA, which is a master's, and that's a 4-year qualification. But with most apprenticeships, they're probably 3 years.
Okay. And how many people do you know? You may not know, but how many people were you up against?
I was up against many. Most applications you're sending, you have 500 students sending for one role. So that's even harder than university, because with university, it's one course that can accept 30, 40, 50 students. And if you don't get in first year, you can get in second year. You could do a foundation or change courses. Whereas with this apprenticeship, you're applying for one role against 500 students, and you have multiple rounds that you get filtered through, from even final rounds where you're meeting managing directors, etc. It's very competitive.
Yeah. That's that's good to know. That's good to know, and you know, and congrats for being able to sort of overcome that step and get the role. So you're in your third year.
Second year.
You're in your second year now. What does second year of apprenticeship for what you're studying look like, and what does the next 2 years look like? 'Cause I think it's good to sort of get a breakdown of how it differs to uni, because uni, you go there, depending on the subject that you study, it's 3 years and you're just studying, unless you do the 3 year and 1 year placement. So what does it look like? What does second year look like? Or even give us a whole trajectory. What did first year apprenticeship look like? What does second year look like now? And what will third and fourth year look like?
So first year of the apprenticeship was mostly me understanding my role. And that's what I really focused on, mainly understanding my role and understanding if this is what I actually wanted to do. So that was kind of how my first year looked. Obviously, I was studying on the side as well, 1 day a week, and I was passing my exams throughout the year. But second year differs in terms of now I'll soon be moving to a different team.
Okay.
So I've done my 1 year in one team. Now I'll be moving to a different team.
What team are you in now?
I'm currently in accounts receivable.
Okay.
But next year I'll be moving to credit risk.
Okay.
So I'll still be studying the same qualification, but I'll be moving to a different side of finance to understand the whole perspective of finance. So hopefully by the end of it, I'll know what field I want to get in. And then third year, I'll be moving to a different team again, D2C, so digital to consumers, and that finance side of things. And I'll still be studying as well, perhaps within my last 1 year of studying. So hopefully would have passed by then. And fourth year, hopefully I'll be a chartered accountant, and see, I could either decide in terms of if the company wants to keep me and they have the headcount and they think I'm a valuable employee, they can obviously keep me in terms of which team. But if not, I can obviously take my qualification, my work experience, and go international, stay in the UK, really.
Yeah. Now that's amazing, man. It looks like you've got a clear picture of, you know, what you want to do. But what does that clear picture even look like beyond, like beyond the apprenticeship? Like, what does the future look like for Myers?
My future, I've thought about it a lot, especially within the past few months, because I had a lot of struggles with him in terms of my exams. So I even thought to myself, am I even going to be able to make it to the end of the apprenticeship? But fortunately enough, I've been able to pass those exams. But by the end of it, I feel like I want to take my skills and my experience international. I just know that with my with the CIMA qualification, I know that international countries they pay big bank for it. I was looking into companies like World Bank or IFAC. They're paying like 6 figures if you have 4 years experience. So when I look at it in terms of if I break it down in terms of age.
Yeah.
So if I've finished by, let's say, 23 and I've fully graduated,
Yeah.
I could be making 6 figures if obviously a company abroad like Dubai or America pay that money. Whereas I feel like in the UK, when you're qualified, of course, you make a lot, 50, 60 as a qualifier. But if you know you can take your skills elsewhere.
But then it's the cost of living as well.
You're
That's
right.
the thing.
You're
it's
right.
the cost of living as well.
So definitely the future is definitely to take my skills international, or even in terms of back home to Uganda. I want to use my skills in terms of business, etc. I just want to start from there, really.
Yeah. And thinking about, actually, we'll come back to taking your skills back to Uganda.
Yeah.
When you was talking about the exams and the exams being difficult, like how difficult are those exams, first of all? And also, like, how do you motivate yourself when like you're the only apprentice? Because like you've grown up in a culture where I saw you GCSEs, you're in the library with the man them. Sixth form, you're most probably doing the same thing.
Yeah.
At uni, your friends who are on the courses are in the library doing the same thing.
Yeah.
How do you motivate yourself to study? And like, where is that? Do apprentices have that community of, you know what, I'm doing an exam, like who can support me with this?
I'm guessing other apprentices do, but I kind of work differently. My motivation behind my apprenticeship is kind of, well, I'll just say my family motivates me, to be honest, because I'm not going to lie, like, there's been a few times I wanted to quit, but my mum would just be like, you want to go to university? I'm like, no, okay, cool, then you got to do this.
So it's one of, you got family, you've got money, because he's not motivated by
the money, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
I can't lie, I'm more of it, because if you're telling me by the end of this I could be making 6 figures in Dubai, come on now, man.
100%. Like that's a beautiful thing.
Okay, cool.
Like,
I'll say that, but I'll make it.
We can't shy away from that. That's the only thing. It's like I look back and I say to, like the family and the people that I was around. Like I bought my first crib 26.
That's good. That's young.
26. I'm sure there's been people that have bought it younger.
In London?
First. Yeah. And it's like, didn't even live in it. It was like, yeah, you're a landlord. You're just getting
that's
that's
lit.
Like, I travel. I love traveling. Like, you do all of these things, but you can't do it without the money.
Yeah,
so
you're
the
right.
money's
Definitely
the motivation, but
100%.
it's the motivation to do things that will allow you to excel, that will allow you to flourish, that will allow you to, grow your own, capital network and do all of these things. It's not money motivating us in, a greedy way. It's like, like when you make it and you make that next step, you're not doing it alone. Like, everybody's eating. Like if I'm good, we're good.
Yeah.
But that's just the culture that we've been
raised in. Really.
So it's there's nothing wrong with that, and there's no issues to sort of shy away from that. So that's positive. And you were speaking about Uganda as well. And it's interesting because only recently I've started to do some work back home with an organisation.
I've seen that. Congratulations.
I've recently joined and collaborating with Revive Congo, who are doing some amazing work, providing education for orphans back home. Like, how much does it mean to you to be able to go back and give back to your community, to give back to your country? Like, what does that mean to you?
That means everything to me, being very honest. That's something that's kind of been stuck in my head since young. My parents have drilled it into my head. Even my grandparents have drilled it into my head that wherever you are in the world, however much money you're making, wherever you are, make sure you know where your home is and that this is where your people are, this is your community. So that's something that's been drilled into my head since young, since before I knew what I wanted to do as an apprentice. So that's why, like, with the position I'm in now, I just know that with the skills and the resources, if I have the time and the people that can help, I'm definitely going to go back home and do what I can do best to either help my community or even to move there in the future or such. Yeah.
No, that's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. And in terms of going back to apprenticeships, in terms of that, is there anything that you feel the education system can do better? Have to run that one again. Is there anything, so in terms of the education system and apprenticeships, is there anything that you feel the system can do better to make apprenticeships more valued?
I feel like it's improving. We've got National Apprenticeship Week, which is a yearly apprenticeship week where we celebrate apprentices. And so that's something that's perhaps come within the last 5 to 6 years. But I feel like what the government perhaps needs to do, I think they need to give teachers more resources and education on apprenticeships so that they can at least push it or at least give students an understanding of what it is. Because you can get an apprenticeship after secondary school straight, but not many students know that. Some people are just not the best when it comes to studies, and it's understandable. Some people prefer to be hands-on, just like myself. I prefer to be hands-on and know what I'm doing instead of reading off a textbook and last minute cramming just to pass an exam, right? So I feel like the government need to give teachers more resources and education so that they can push it to students, so they at least have an understanding of what options they can take to better themselves in their future career. But if teachers don't have that understanding, students, that's just a barrier itself. Students won't really have that understanding unless if they go out their way.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting. You know, I'm thinking now, like, as a staff body or a teacher or whatever else, it's easier for you to sell uni because you've had the experience of uni.
Definitely.
But it will be much more difficult to sell
An
apprenticeships
apprenticeship, yeah.
because you wouldn't have had that experience.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes as well, because you haven't had that experience, some teachers might have biases, so they won't sell it as well. Or if they're selling it to certain students and not other students. So it's not like the universal approach.
Yeah.
In the same way that, you know, they sell or they give the offer for, you know, university. So I think that's, you know, really important to consider, especially if we're thinking about actually how are we offering apprenticeships in a way that's, you know, more universal, and we're opening it up to everyone, which I think is important. And you know, I wanted to sort of ask as well, if there's any sort of young person that's listening, a student or whatever else, and they're in sixth form right now, and they're like, you know, literally back and forth in their mind, like, do I go uni? Do I get a job? Do I do apprenticeships and whatever else? What advice can you give them in terms of making a decision? Not necessarily, oh, go do an apprenticeship, but how do they make a decision, and how do they make a decision that is right for them?
I think the easiest answer is to take a gap year to understand. And within that gap year, I feel like you need to understand, find what you want to do. Taking a gap year gives you a lot of time to be free, to understand yourself. Within that gap year, you could perhaps get a job and then realize maybe I just want to work full time. Or within that gap year, you might realize, you know what, I'm actually really into medicine. I want to go full time in medicine. Obviously, a lot of students have that fear of being behind their classmates. But I feel like taking that gap year will excel you 10 times, because lots of students just go to university because they feel like that's the next step. When 7 times out of 10 it's actually not.
Yeah.
Taking a gap year, knowing what you want to do, so that when you actually pursue the next step, you go 10 times harder because you had the time to yourself to find what you want to do. So I just advise to take a gap year to really see what field you want to get into, because within that gap year you can find so much about yourself.
Yeah. No, that's important. And how about for parents?
Mm-hmm.
How about for parents? Like, how would you advise any parent listening who thinks,
Yeah.
you know what, this boy sounds so bright, he's making so much sense, I'm going to get my son to be an apprentice and whatever else. How do you guide parents in terms of saying, you know what, parents, this is what you need to do for your child to support them to make the right decision? So what would the guidance be for parents? And maybe you can lean on maybe some of the things that your parents did to support you.
I'll definitely say to be very understanding. Obviously, a lot of our parents have a fixed mindset in terms of the next step of education is university. But I feel like the way the UK is right now, there's a lot of options and routes you can take post 16. So I feel like being very understanding of your child's situation is very important, because you can force your child to go to university, but within those 3-4 years, they hated it or they've lost themselves or they realised this isn't what they want to do. And after university, nothing's really worked out for them. So I feel like being able to understand your child, talk to your child and to come to a decision what's best for them is definitely very important for a parent to support their child, really.
Yeah. No, that's important, man. That's important. And, you know, before we finish off, you know, I just want to just definitely take this opportunity to, you know, to give you your flowers in terms of, you know, the growth that I've seen from you.
Thank you.
You know, over the last, you know, like how many
it's been like 5-6 years.
You know, 5-6 years. Because you're someone that's always taken the initiative, you know, even, you know, when you left the school and you'll email back and, you know what, sir, I've got this idea, we should do this at the school.
Oh yeah, I remember that,
or
business
I've got this
idea.
or I've got this idea, and
forgot about
you
that.
know, like always wanted to take, you know, the initiative.
Yeah.
And even, you know, in regards to this episode,
Yeah.
you know, the fact that you reached out, the fact that you was intentional in terms of saying, you know, National Apprenticeship Week is this day, and, you know, this will benefit your podcast and whatever else. And I just thought to myself, yeah, like, let's go. Like, this is a young man that's focused. This is a young man, you know, that's intentional. And, you know, my encouragement to you would be 100% just continue to use, like, your voice. Because the thing about using your voice and having power in your voice is that it motivates beyond age. It means that someone who's 16 will be motivated, someone who's 66 will be motivated. And it's not necessarily them saying, oh, we're motivated because we want to become apprentices, but we're motivated because this person speaks with confidence, this person speaks with clarity, this person speaks with authority, and they're able to draw, you know, those things out from you. So, you know, I commend that from you.
I appreciate
that. Keep doing the amazing work, and, you know, I'm sure at some point, you know, if this podcast is still happening in, you know, 2 years' time, you know, by God's grace, we can circle back and see actually,
definitely,
like, Myers after the 2 years, what are you, you know, doing now, and how those opportunities, you know, have sort of opened, you know, the door for you. But yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
You know, to have you on. It's been an insightful conversation. You know, and I know that, you know, the audience and the guests will enjoy this episode, definitely. So thank you, everyone. This has been the Too Cool for School podcast. I am your host, Yannick. If you like this type of content, please subscribe to our YouTube page and follow us on our social media platforms. Thank you.